has shown me just how selfish and thoughtless people are.
I mean, I think
that's retail for you. I was already most of the way there, but this kind of filled that bar for me.
I mean, I bet at my job at the video game retail store, we're either going to be very busy due to people not wanting to leave, or we're going to be dead as fuck because no one wants to leave.
No, I think everyone's going to buy their games on download now.
Good point.
Yeah.
If anything, it's going to hurt our business more.
Yeah.
Thanks, coronavirus.
Further sink the ship.
Is coronavirus ruining the video game industry?
I mean,
yes.
Listen,
They canceled South by Southwest. They canceled E3.
I don't feel as bad for video games as I do for Chinese food restaurants owned
Yeah,
by like
real
independent
talk.
families who are suffering.
Who are
people
actually
think that they all have coronavirus.
legitimately blameless.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like video games will bounce back. It's like the most profitable industry in the world right now. But like Chinese food places, mom and pop Chinese food places, like if you're at quarantine at home and their business is open somehow, order from Chinese food places because they're fine.
Lesson number 2, buy yourself some Chinese food.
Lesson number 2 is you cannot get the fucking coronavirus by eating something.
Yeah.
Unless it was sneezed on by someone with the coronavirus.
But anybody could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, listen, dude. I'm going to say this flat out. I'm going to say this right now, and I promise this will be the last, like finger waggy thing we say this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
If you are not ordering Chinese food due to fear of the coronavirus, you are a fucking hypocrite if you then still order pizza.
Yep.
Just saying.
Yep.
So.
Because Italy shut the fuck down.
Italy has it just as bad as China.
Exactly.
If anything, they have it maybe, I know, just as bad. It's not a competition, first and foremost.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just saying.
Yeah, exactly. So just, think about that.
Keep that shit in mind, you fucking racists.
Fucking racist.
No, I'm just kidding.
But yeah.
If you're in quarantine with your family, you can watch movies. And a movie that you and I watched together, Sam, that we actually never talked about despite us being so fucking affected by it. You and I decided for an evening that we'd sit down and watch Tyler Perry's Acrimony.
We never talked about that on
We
the
never
podcast?
talked about Acrimony.
Oh my god.
At least I don't think we did.
Oh my gosh.
And
Okay.
we don't have to do a deep dive. I just want to say this movie is fucking crazy.
Yeah, so I heard about this movie from my favorite podcast, The Read. They mention it and make reference to it multiple times over multiple episodes. There isn't just one episode, but they talk about it and joke about it because it's one of those movies that's so bad it's good.
Right.
Like it's corny.
Oh, it's like it's so
it's
bad.
Tyler Perry. Like Tyler
It's
Perry's
so
corny.
bad that it's good, but it is glaringly bad.
Yeah.
Like there's one kind of shot for like every shot in the movie.
Yeah.
It's like still frame. He just like plops the camera down and records. All of the acting is bad.
Which is a shame because I feel like there are good actors in it.
Well, it's Taraji P. Henson.
Like the guy who played
How the fuck
her
he
wife,
afforded Taraji P. Henson is
the
beyond
guy
me.
who played Taraji P. Henson's husband is a really good actor. I've seen him in other stuff before. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but like I've seen him before, and I know that his acting is not this, like whatever this is right now.
Tyler Perry might not be a great director.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like,
so
like
actors can't just come to the plate with good performances.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
like a whole thing. It's a process.
Yeah, exactly. Multiple things happen. So, but yeah. So for anybody who doesn't know, Acrimony by Tyler Perry, it's a movie about a woman who meets and marries a guy who has this idea for some sort of like generator. They keep it very vague as to what exactly his invention is, just to be like he has an invention. He's a struggling inventor.
Oh, do you want me? Hang on.
So she meets him, marries him. At the time she marries him, her mother dies, and she has this like giant inheritance and house that her mother left behind for her. It's everything that she ever owned because she was her mother's favorite child, and she loses it all in trying to support him and his endeavors. And it's about like how she kind of goes insane after that. And like how it affects their relationship.
So want to hear?
Spoiler alert: it's bad.
It's horrendous. Let me read the Google the
synopsis. Yeah,
the succinct synopsis. When Melinda met Robert, she was skeptical. I think that never mind. Is skeptical spelled S
K-E-P-T-I-C-A-L?
They spelled it with a C here.
Oh.
S-C-E-P-T-I-C-A-L.
I think it's a tomato thing.
Okay.
Or maybe like a British
or like
US
British Canadian.
thing.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
She was skeptical of his charming nature, but they couldn't deny how attracted she was to him. Once they fell in love, Melinda molded herself to everything he wanted her to be.
Mm-hmm.
She sacrificed for him, worked to support his grandiose dreams, and put up with him for better or for worse. Then, one day, she realized that, after all she had done, another woman was reaping the lavish rewards. That's when Melinda lost it, and now she cannot let it go. That is not what this movie's about.
This is where the description misleads you, because...
That's not what the fucking movie's about.
Like, this is... Okay, so, like, for those of you who don't know, Tyler Perry, he makes these movies. I mean, He
makes them for dirt cheap and makes insane returns.
No, so the thing about Tyler Perry movies, and like, you know, like black people love Tyler Perry, and he's the shining example of a multi-hyphenate, successful black, pull yourself up by your own bootstraps, rags to riches story. He used to like sleep in his car on a highway exit, and now he owns a studio that can fit like Paramount, Warner Brothers, and Disney Studios in one.
Yeah, it's a studio,
and still have like 60 acres of land left over.
Roughly the size of the GTA.
Like it's a beautiful story. And for what it's worth, like he hires black actors and actresses. He gives them jobs.
Right.
He pays them appropriately. He pays the actors appropriately. I should emphasize the actors get paid appropriately.
Mm-hmm. And it shows in his filmmaking because clearly they don't have any budget.
Taraji P. Henson. I mean, like, in short, like, we wouldn't have Taraji P. Henson if it wasn't for Tyler Perry, because he put her on the map. He gave her roles. He brought attention to her. He signed her for her first 6-figure movie deal. Like, she credits a lot of her success to him cutting her a big break, and you know, that was all him. So he represents for the culture in that aspect. However.
His movies are dog shit. So
it's like the black community supports him for all that he is, not all that he creates, because his content is not great.
Well, what kills me about Tyler Perry movies, and like I'm open to discuss this, but like the actual filmmaking is pretty bad. Yeah. Like there's like glaring green screens and like inconsistencies with like set and like things that were there in previous shots that aren't there.
Remember that one shot where in Acrimony, when Melinda's getting married to whatever her husband's name is.
Yeah. Robert, I think his name is.
Robert, and the whole thing is that like her family and friends did not want her to marry this man. Nobody supported the marriage, so nobody shows up to their wedding.
Yeah.
So we get there, and it's her friend who is her maid of honor, her best friend.
Yep.
And then he's got like one guy from his family sitting in the pews, and then it's like a POV shot of Melinda walking down the aisle, looking at her husband to be, and then like not an aerial shot. I don't know the technical term for it.
A
like
bird's
a crowd,
eye view.
Not a bird's eye view. It's like a crowd shot of the church, and suddenly there are like 5 more people there.
Yeah.
It's like first shot, nobody. Second shot, just 4 more people show
Who the
up.
fuck did continuity for this movie?
And it's like, but that's not even like, you know, like that's not even like MCU levels of continuity where it's like, you know, I could forgive some continuity errors in like certain Marvel Cinematics
basic
movies,
continuity is like,
it's like so complicated, and at that point like there's so many moving parts to MCU movies that like I can actually forgive a continuity error or two. There basically are none, but like, and that's fantastic. But like I could forgive one if there was. Keeping the same amount of people in a room in every single shot is like day one continuity.
Well, there should be
like day one.
There should be someone on set whose entire job is to keep continuity.
Exactly.
If there's a water bottle on that table,
there
it has to
needs
be
to be a
there
water bottle on that table
every time that part of that table is shown. That's basic filmmaking.
Absolutely, and it's
like dramaturgy in theater. Every production should have one.
It immediately takes this movie from like respectable, like it knocks so many respectability points out of your audience immediately. Like you could have the best movie of all time. You like if there were continuity errors in The Godfather, it wouldn't be considered one of the best movies of all time.
Right.
You know, like it doesn't matter how great Marlon Brando is. If there's a continuity error, like a water bottle where a water bottle isn't supposed to be, that movie,
it's glaring. Like it's noticeable.
It's got this huge glaring mistake in it.
Well, put it this way, Sam. I was tipped off
instantly, just like disrespect points right there.
Yeah, I was tipped off to the quality of this movie when Taraji P. Henson is in the first 5 minutes, and then you don't see her again for another hour.
Yeah,
it's
like another actress playing a younger version of her
for like 75% of the movie.
Yeah, because it's like. You see Taraji and she's like in a therapist's office and she's like smoking a cigarette, like fucking what's it called, Basic Instinct style. Yeah. She looks like Sharon fucking Stone.
She's got the hardest scowl on her face that I have ever seen.
And then it like flashes back to her college.
It's like
days.
cartoonishly evil.
It flashes back to her college days when she meets her husband, and a younger actress is playing her because she's a younger version of Taraji. And then you proceed to see her play the character for like a third of the movie,
like an hour. Yeah,
it's like
more than half.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought this movie was starring Taraji P. Henson. I expected to see her
No,
more.
it's
but
featuring Taraji P. Henson.
exactly. It's like, what? This movie just makes black women seem insane and like unhinged and like completely materialistic.
Well, that's the part that bothered me the most
it.
is that early on they established that Taraji P. Henson's character has this like insane anger problem.
Yeah.
She got this like she like literally bumps into the quote unquote love of her life in the rain, and she proceeds to like push him into the ground and punch him.
She like beats him up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like you're a bad person. Like that's not.
No, he's like so they're like running in the rain, and then they like bump into each other completely accidentally. And she goes, watch where you're going. And he's like bent over because he's like gonna help her pick up her books that she just dropped, and he's also covering his head with like a newspaper or something. And she starts like he bends over and she starts like hitting, like punching him in the back.
Yeah.
And like shoving him.
And it's like
it's
what
so
the
aggressive.
fuck? First of all, I would never date anyone who did that to me.
Who reacted that way to a simple accident.
To a bump in the I can't see where the fuck I'm going.
I've never heard of a single person reacting to being bumped into completely accidentally that way.
There were so many red flags during this movie that I fucking lost count.
Yeah.
It was like I was going to Six Flags. It's like there was just like tons of fucking red flags everywhere. Like endless red flags. Like to put it in fucking like speed mode here. So Taraji P. Henson has an anger problem. Buddy Boy is a deadbeat.
Yeah.
Buddy Boy cheats on her early on.
In their relationship,
she crashes her Jeep into his RV in a reaction to her finding out that he was cheating on her.
Yeah.
Which is like if the fact this relationship continues past this point is like at this point it's like wow, I'm watching a sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
Because there is some mental gymnastics going on in this piece. Let me tell you.
The thing is that like Taraji P. Henson's character Melinda is
she's a stick by your man type.
No, she's very demure until she gets angry, and then some monster just takes over her brain and she can't control her actions.
Right.
And like you wouldn't like her when she's angry.
But like go to therapy.
And it's hold on here. Well, it's lots of things, right? One thing is like,
it's also cartoonish anger.
It's cartoonish. It's cartoonish the way that she goes from like 0 to 100. It's like, and it's also like okay, so she has this characteristic where she's fine until you get her angry, but it takes her. The things that make her angry are very shallow and very just like surface level, superficial, awful things.
Well, yeah, I remember what I was going to say earlier.
Why didn't you get so mad when your husband spent like 15 years not having a job, like whittling away your inheritance money, making you take out a second mortgage on your family's home that's been in the family for like 2 generations?
But I think they said they got about like $1.5 million in debt.
It's something crazy like that. She had over $300,000 inherited from her mother, and he slowly whittles it away over the course of their marriage to nothing until they're in
on the
debt.
promise of his battery is coming along.
Yeah,
that's all they say about this dude's invention.
Like, you didn't at some point get mad at that? Like, what?
Well, the bar none most ridiculous part of the movie was that. Well, I mean, okay, it's hard to critique a Tyler Perry movie because the writing is terrible. The writing has no semblance of a story. There's a negative character arc a little bit, but it's like Taraji P. Henson goes the whole movie being like, "Listen, babe, like I love you and I want to be with you, but I don't need you to make me a billionaire. I just want you to get a job."
Exactly.
Like,
she plays the part of this not high maintenance, super easygoing.
He's always like, I'm gonna get you the jet, I'm gonna get you the yacht, I'm gonna get you all this shit. She's like, she literally says verbatim in the movie, like, I do not care about that stuff.
Yeah.
So then,
I just want to start our life together. We're married.
But here is the kicker: they eventually get divorced.
Yes.
All that shit goes down, they get divorced.
Yeah.
So, Buddy Boy's battery eventually gets sold to the company that he's trying to sell it to for like an insane amount of money.
That's the other thing too, is that he wants to sell this battery. Like he wants to get it patented and like manufactured but he's only pitching it to one company
for 10 years.
That'd be like if we as actors tried to get one agent to represent us
for our whole careers,
and we just like for 15 years we sent the same resume and headshot to the same agent
some
for
extra
like 15 years.
Chump, yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Do you want this? What? Do you want this to get made? Why are you barking up this one tree?
You know who Tyler Perry? Tyler Perry needs a fucking dramaturg. That's what he needs.
Well, this is the thing, right? So people give Tyler Perry his props because he hires black people to work on his movies. He hires black actors and actresses, and he hires black production crews. So camera people, cinematographers, sound operators, stuff like
all those people,
black people, all black people who are having a hard time breaking into the industry, and we respect him for that. He has this thing with the Writers Guild of America. He doesn't like hiring writers. He has this thing about writers, not just black writers, but just like writers.
Well, he writes, produces, and directs all of his own movies.
The union that protects writers in America, because he thinks that they're gonna send back, or they're not gonna take his notes in an attempt to try and like bleed more time out of him to get more money out of him. So he writes all of his own scripts by himself, completely in his own head, doesn't show them to anybody else. So what you're seeing is
problem number one.
Is effectively, I'm not saying that Tyler Perry never writes a second draft, but when you never show your writing to anybody else and you don't get another pair of eyes on it and you do all of the editing and shit by yourself, it's essentially a first draft.
Acrimony felt like a first draft.
You may as well produce your first draft of a script.
It felt like someone's first. It felt like a student film. It felt like I was watching someone who had never made a movie before.
And it shows in the quality of the movies that we see. 100%. You know, like, quite frankly, what's the one Medea movie that I had seen? Diary of a Mad Black Woman.
Yeah, the one that everyone's seen.
The one that everyone's seen. People, I find that people often quote Medea Goes to Jail and Medea's Family Reunion, I think, as like the two most popular ones. But Diary of a Mad Black Woman is also up there. Yeah. But Diary of a Mad Black Woman is also just a mess, and also like it writes black women as like fucking crazy, you know? You have the main character who gets kicked out of her house in the first like 5 minutes of the episode in this really violent and like just horrible way. And then you have like, there's another character who is like the wife of the male lead and who's played by Tyler Perry.
Naturally.
The ex-wife who's like the mother of his children.
Tyler Perry plays like 90 characters.
They separated because she's an addict, and it's like, okay, you know, like he uses addiction and mental illness as like negative traits to like be able to write people off as like crazy or unwell, and it's really problematic.
Right.
And really, it's also just like kind of weak storytelling, you know, like. She's bad because she's an addict. We're not together anymore because she can't stop. She can't put the coke down.
Right.
And it's like, she chose the coke over her kids. And I'm like, oh, wow, really?
My favorite thing about Diary of a Mad Black Woman, I implore everyone at home to do this because you're probably listening to this in your car or on Spotify. Google Diary of a Mad Black Woman poster. And click on the second one, which is this one here. I'm describing to Sam. It's a picture of a black woman, and in her hair is like images of her family.
Yeah.
This is the first poster of Diary of a Mad Black Woman. This is the most recent poster of Diary of a Mad Black Woman.
It's
the one next to it.
Purple big text that says Diary of a Mad Black Woman.
And it's Medea with a gun.
Yeah.
So like, and here's another area. If you scroll down further, you'll see the DVD release.
Yes, that's the cover that I saw when I first rented it from the video rental store.
Wow, me, oh my! The fact that this movie at first was something to be taken seriously.
Yeah.
Clearly, Tyler Perry wanted it to be like something that was like lauded and that was like beautiful, something that he wrote. And now he's just like, oh, Medea's in it. It's her origin story.
Yeah.
She's not even really.
It's not though. It's not Medea's origin story. The main character in Diary of a Mad Black Woman is a distant relative of Medea's, who cut herself off from her family, including Medea, when she married a rich man, and then has to go with her tail between her legs back to Medea's house in the projects.
Yeah.
After her rich husband dumps her for a younger thing.
Right.
Kicks her, literally, I mean literally, with his foot, kicks her out of her house.
Hilarious, isn't it?
Out of their mansion.
Yeah. So to wrap up Acrimony, they get divorced. Buddy Boy gets rich. Buddy Boy gives in mind
literally like you turn around, like she signs the divorce papers, and her family is like, yeah, you left your shitty husband, good for you, start going on dates, get back out there. And then he turns around and the office calls him and is like, listen, I know we told you, like, we banned you from the premises, we know you've been trying to sell us this thing for like 15 years, but we want to give you like $800,000.
No, see, fuck all that. Let's just get to the interesting part where he eventually gets it. He gets $80 million for this thing.
Yeah.
It's like a patent that he gets. He becomes a rich beyond his wildest dreams.
Yeah.
He goes to Taraji P. Henson and gives her $10 million as well as her old home, which she had to sell, completely paid off.
Yep.
That, in my opinion, is like roll credits.
Well, let's also keep
End
in
of the
mind.
movie.
Let's also keep in mind. So she had, I think the exact number was $375,000 from her mother. Like, that was her mother's inheritance. Yep. He whittled it all away. Turns around, gets rich, gives her $10 million, which is cold hard cash. Like, that's a $9 million surplus. $10 million. Plus, he doesn't take any of the $10 million out to buy the house back. He just buys the house back as well. Gives it to her. Doesn't want anything in return. He's like, this is what I owe you for all of that I put you through in our marriage. Here's $10 million plus your mother's house back. Your family house back.
Go on vacation for the rest of your life.
You don't have to work again a day in your life. And she
goes fucking crazy.
For some reason. She learns that he starts dating a new woman, gets remarried again.
And it is the woman that he cheated on her with when they were teenagers.
Yes.
Or young adults.
Yes. Marries her. They live in a penthouse. He bought her a private jet and he bought her a yacht. And she goes insane.
Reminder that Taraji P. Henson didn't give a shit about any of this stuff.
Yep.
For the entire movie.
It's written into her character that she doesn't care about material things. She just wants her man and their life and just wants to be happy. And then all of a sudden she's batshit crazy, has bipolar, maybe. And because of this maybe bipolar, does a weird tribal dance under red lights in her mom's house. And like...
That like Joker scene that she has, where she like dances in the mirror. Like, I was half expecting her to put on Joker makeup.
Yeah, exactly. Well, she writes something like "kill the bitch" in lipstick on the mirror.
Yeah,
and like there's like pictures of his new wife like scratched out like all over the house.
It's the most stereotypical "I'm going crazy" portrayal of a character I have ever seen.
Yeah,
and what really kills me is that I feel like this movie could have been really good. Like, I feel like Acrimony, there's enough content in there to make an interesting movie.
If the character gave a shit about owning a yacht.
Yeah.
Okay. So
if there was maybe some kind of semblance of like, foreshadowing.
Or maybe the husband, every single time Taraji gets mad that he's not doing well on his battery, he goes, baby, think of the yacht. Think of the yacht. Think of the yacht.
Yeah,
and she's like, the yacht. Yes, the yacht. The yacht. Yeah, okay, perfect. The yacht. And then they get divorced. He gives her nothing.
Yeah. That's what kills me, Sam. Is that he made amends.
And then she finds out that he has a yacht. That would make me go insane and like go on a yacht and try and kill the both of you.
He fucking made amends, though.
Yes.
He fucking makes amends.
Yes.
The judge in the movie.
He also didn't want a divorce. She was the one who pushed the divorce in the first place. He didn't want a divorce, but he realized that it would make her happy.
Mm-hmm.
He realized that he messed up. And then he signed the papers, full disclosure, let her have everything. Like didn't fight her on anything.
Ain't no chump.
Completely let her have her way in the divorce.
Yeah.
And then gets rich, turns around, gives her $10 million in her house back. And it's
roll credits. Movie over.
Why are you mad about that? And I just hated.
It was like the worst third act of any movie that I've ever seen.
It's also like in this world where we're talking about female characters and accurate female representation in movies, Tyler Perry thinks that he's like done some sort of good job by making Taraji P. Henson the lead in his movie, and he's paying her enough money to do so, but he's giving her this shitty character because he turns around and makes us hate the character for really shitty reasons.
Well, because that's another thing. I felt no sympathy for Taraji P. Henson's character at this point.
Yeah,
I was like, I'm not sympathetic of you. You have $10 million. You have $10 million. You have to work another day in your life.
Yeah,
you
$10 million in a house completely paid off. That $10 million is completely flush. It's all yours to do with whatever you want.
Sam,
you don't have to pay a mortgage. You don't have to get the house renovated. You don't have to do anything at all. Anything.
Sam, if we got divorced and I was left with nothing, and you turned around and gave me $10 million and a place to live that was completely paid off, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go on vacation.
Yeah.
For a year.
I'm never going to bother you ever again.
I'm going to go to Italy forever.
Yeah.
Maybe die of coronavirus. Who knows?
No. So yeah, that's my thing too, is that like, we're on Taraji's side the whole time. We're like, oh my God, this man is such a scrub. He's such a bugaboo. He's such a loser. Why is she dealing with him? Why is she dealing with him? Okay, good, fine, fair. It's kind of sad that, you stuck with him all this time and just like nothing came of it. That in itself is tragic. And, that would have been a sad ending, but it would have been a good ending if you had just like stuck with it, and been like, oh man, like, sometimes that's how life goes, like you go through a shitty time and come out with nothing on the other side.
Yep.
That
would have given her maybe like a little bit of a better reason to go fucking crazy.
Yeah, but instead you made us root for this woman, want to feel bad for her, want to feel for her the entire time, and then you turned around and made her super superficial and super materialistic and go fucking crazy. And it's like by the time the end of the movie comes around, I'm like, who the hell cares? I actually want her gone.
Yeah.
I want her to lose. I want her to, and it's like I
was rooting for Buddy Boy by the end of the movie.
And I hate Tyler Perry for making me do that.
Yeah.
Like I had this conflicting feeling the entire time we were watching the movie, because it's like, I feel like I've gone through this. I feel like I've gone through this obstacle course, this like Tough Mudder course,
this like
with this
mental
character.
gymnastics.
And now I hate her by the end of it. Like, why did you do that to her?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
it's
man,
the worst.
For Melinda.
It is probably, in my opinion,
#justice for
the
Melinda.
worst negative character arc that I have ever seen in the movie.
Yeah.
Like, because there's such a thing as a good negative character arc. I'd argue that like
absolutely.
Maleficent is a good negative character arc.
Yes.
Someone who starts off like in the Angelina Jolie movies, where she starts off as someone who's like not like quote unquote evil, but like through like petty personality and her own flaws, but then also like getting scorned pretty bad.
I was gonna say,
like, she turns evil. Like, that's interesting. So the best part of Acrimony,
oh my God.
let's just get to the best part, is the end of the movie. Buddy Boy and his new wife are on a yacht in the middle of the ocean somewhere.
They're on their honeymoon.
On a honeymoon in the middle of the ocean. Keep in mind that they are in the middle of the ocean.
Yep.
It is dark. It's the middle of the night.
It's nighttime. Yep. Stars are out.
Buddy Boy's new wife, goes downstairs to take a bath. She's like, oh my God, where'd my wedding dress go? And one of the helpers there are like, oh.
Yeah.
2 seconds later, Taraji P. Henson shows up with a gun on the boat.
Yeah.
Wearing the wedding dress.
Yeah.
Now, we were talking about continuity earlier. Where do you start?
How did she get on the boat?
How the fuck did you get on the boat? First of all,
this is what they make fun of on the read all the time. It's like, how did she get on the boat?
How the fuck? Like, no, I want to actually like sit down with Tyler Perry and be like, so Tyler, how did she get on the boat?
No, okay, this is so funny because he did an interview recently. So like this was like the meme when the movie came out. All the black people were like, how did Taraji get back on the boat? And then like no one said anything. And then he was in an interview and the interviewer was actually she was needling him. Like I haven't read the actual interview. They only talk about it on the read. But she was needling him for a bunch of stuff about how he won't hire black writers, about how he won't hire writers to begin with, how it affects the quality of his movies. And then she was like, so tell me then, how did Taraji get back on the boat? And he was like, man, stop asking me about the boat.
What do you fucking mean?
He just dodged the question. He was like, I'm not answering it. I don't care. Just, she got on the boat and just go with it.
Okay, Tyler. So, okay, fine. And before you interrupt me, that confirms that Tyler Perry doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
He obviously doesn't care.
He's a lazy writer.
He's a lazy writer who doesn't care.
Yeah.
She needed to be on the boat, so she got on the boat.
Yep.
That is bullshit, Tyler Perry.
Yeah.
That is bullshit.
That's like, there are 4th graders learning about basic like story plot who know better than to do shit like that. You know?
It wouldn't even be that hard. Show a shot of her on a Sea-Doo, and I believe that she got on the boat.
Exactly.
Like, it's not even that hard.
Also, they're in the middle of the ocean. It doesn't say what ocean. Like, how do you learn where they are? Did you like map out coordinates?
She has fucking Cerebro from the X-Men, and she like steals it from Professor X and finds her broke ass husband.
Yeah,
and then she shoots him, and he in the abdomen, and then he survives for like another 20 minutes, which is again like movie bullshit. That's normal movie bullshit.
There's no way. There's just no way.
And then she gets sucked off the boat by the anchor and dies. Yeah. And then the credits roll.
No, here's the thing. So, she gets on the boat and like pushes the crew off. Like she like forces them off.
Yeah, because she's
so that it's just her and the ex-husband and the new wife.
Mm-hmm.
And the wife beats her off of the boat.
No, that's right.
Remember?
Yeah, she does fall.
She beats her off the boat at one point.
And she gets back on the boat.
And then she just like Jesuses herself onto the boat again.
She rises from the ashes.
How did you get back on the boat?
Yeah.
Like, what?
It doesn't make any sense.
What?
She also isn't even really that wet.
No.
She fell in the ocean.
She's not like sopping wet?
Nope.
Like what?
Who the fuck wrote this movie? Oh wait,
Tyler
Perry
Perry
wrote
did.
this movie.
That's why it's bad.
And Tyler Perry doesn't give a fucking shit about scripts. Well, okay, Sam, here, let me point this out for everyone. I'm gonna look up the budget of Acrimony, and you're gonna see just how shockingly small it is. Tyler Perry.
This was before Tyler. This movie came out before Tyler Perry Studios, might I add.
Yeah.
So like, I think it was shot at Tyler Perry Studios, but it wasn't finished yet, and it wasn't the sprawling. It wasn't the sprawling feat that it is today.
Oh, there was some glaring green screen in this movie of like normal locations.
You can like see them.
You couldn't just like go to DC and film this thing. You had to like.
This is the thing, right? I think they were in like Atlanta, and it's like that's where Tyler Perry Studios is.
Sam, they made
you can just go
Acrimony
to the bridge in Atlanta
for $20 million.
Oh my god,
that is pittance. That is chump change.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, here, let me look at the return. I bet it made crazy money, though.
Oh, yeah. Black people love Tyler Perry.
Box office. It doubled its budget. It made $25 million. Tyler Perry.
So it made $45 million?
It made $45 million in total, which means it made $25 million return.
Okay.
Because it cost $20 million to make the movie.
Yeah.
And he clearly didn't pay for any marketing, because I never seen a fucking trailer for this movie.
No, me neither.
So...
The Read is its biggest marketing.
Yeah, really.
Like
shout out to
Crystal and Kid Fury.
Crystal and Kid Fury.
Crystal.
Crystal?
Crissle.
Oh, okay. I apologize. I thought it was Crystal.
No.
It's Crystal.
Crystal.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And
Crystal and Kid Fury.
Yeah.
Shout out. They got a good podcast.
The best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your favorite podcast besides
ours?
I think
so.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think so.
That's good.
Yeah, high key.
But yeah, man, Tyler Perry's Acrimony was a fucking mess, and it was the worst, and it showed a horrible relationship, and it was directed horribly, and written horribly, and acted horribly. But you know what movie was really good?
What? I recommend you see it, though, because it's a good-ass
If you
time.
ever want to have a good-ass time,
funny.
sit down with your friends, rip like 5 bowls, order a fucking pizza, and watch Acrimony, and just talk the whole time. Because you're not going to miss anything. No one should be paying attention. But then make fun of it, because clearly Tyler Perry doesn't give enough of a fuck for anyone to take his movie seriously. Yeah. So just make fun of it then.
Yeah.
One of the movies.
We are never going to get hired by Tyler Perry.
I'm fine with that.
Ever. We are blackballed in Hollywood forever.
Yeah, really. Tyler Perry is an avid listener of the Chill Spot podcast.
These things come back around.
He's one of the 30 people who listen to our podcast.
These things come back around.
I don't give a fuck. You want to know one new movie we did show an amazing abusive relationship and was actually a very entertaining movie?
An amazing abusive relationship.
Was The Invisible Man.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a fantastic movie. I saw it with my horror group. Brad Shirk Boy, the famous Shirk Boy in Sydney, and I enjoyed it from start to finish. Awesome. It was a tense, scary movie that took something as dumb as The Invisible Man and made it genuinely terrifying.
I don't think The Invisible Man is dumb.
Well, I mean,
you ever read The Invisible Man?
But like the original, like the
H.G. Wells. Like,
no, I never read it.
Okay.
Have you?
I read an abridged version of it meant for kids. That told the basic story, and it's good.
Well, I mean, yeah, because what's interesting, because the original, I read about this, the original Invisible Man had a lot to do with the existential crisis of him being invisible and him having to grapple with that. But the new Invisible Man is about his girlfriend who is being stalked by the Invisible Man, which in my opinion is the perfect modernization of it. Okay. And it is based off the original story, because the main character, the antagonist, the Invisible Man, is the same name as the character from the original. Okay. Yeah. And it was fucking great. They did so much fake out stuff where it's like, because he's invisible, they make an empty doorway scary.
Yes.
Because like, is he there?
Yeah.
Is he not there? They do really subtle stuff, like a curtain will move or like an impression on the floor. You know, like it's really.
Somebody's sitting in that chair.
Fun fact, that scene's not in the movie.
I hate it when they do that.
90% of the trailer's not in the movie.
I hate it when they do that.
Well, because I hate it too, but I'm glad they did it that way, because they clearly got butts in seats because it made a lot of money. And then the movie is way more than the trailer. Because
yeah, no, I'm glad it turned out like that, but I just think that I don't know.
There is a twist halfway through this movie, Sam, that fucked me up.
I mean, like, I don't care about spoilers because I'm not going to see this movie. I can't do scary movies. So, like, if you want to spoil it, like, go ahead.
Okay.
Fair warning to anybody in the audience who does want to see it, though.
Skip to this time code.
40 minutes, 8 seconds.
If you don't want these spoiled by the Invisible Man. Yeah. Halfway through the movie, after Elizabeth Moss has been fully convinced.
Also, if you're not listening on YouTube right now, like go. Like,
yes. Yes. When I say skip to the time code, skip the time code.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Moss has proof of the Invisible Man.
Excellent.
She at this point in the movie has found the suit that he's created.
Okay.
He made 2.
Okay.
She found the other one.
Oh, what a dumbass. He made 2?
Yeah.
What a dumbass.
I know. Well, one, I'm assuming one was like a prototype. Because he's like a brilliant scientist. That's the whole idea.
Yeah.
That's why he's so rich and everything.
Yeah.
She has concrete proof that she has this shit. She hides it away in his home, which is supposed to be foreclosed. So like she knows where it is and she can go get it.
Yeah.
So she's like, okay. Her sister, who through manipulation has been estranged from her because he goes on her computer and sends her like a really nasty email being like, fuck you, I hate you, never talk to me.
Yeah.
So she's like, oh, that's the way you feel? Then fuck all this. Like you can just deal with your bullshit somewhere else.
Yeah.
Calls her sister, be like, listen, I need your help. Please, can you meet me in this restaurant because it's public? And they're sitting down at the restaurant and like they have a nice little warm conversation. And Elizabeth Moss' character goes, I have proof that he is the Invisible Man, and it goes back to it cuts to the shot of the girl, the sister, and she's looking at her like we're confused, but then her eyes slowly move over to next to her, and it cuts back to Elizabeth Moss, and a knife is floating just above her head, like he's holding the knife, and then he reaches across and slashes the sister's throat, and then puts the knife in Elizabeth Moss' hands. And like,
Whoa.
It is, Sam, I have never been this shocked. I turned to Brad and Sydney, and we were all like,
the fuck?
Whoa!
Yeah.
Because that is like, he's done some fucked up shit so far, but it's
Of
mostly
course.
been like small, nefarious, like fuck with your mind shit.
Right.
He hasn't killed someone
and
yet.
Also correct me if I'm wrong, but she was dating this guy. He was abusive. She broke up with him, and then he died.
He faked his own, in this part of the movie, he faked his own death and then left her $5 million. But then it was all incremental on the idea that she never commits a crime and that she is mentally sound. So the idea is that he becomes the Invisible Man to make her seem like she's crazy, so she gets locked away in a psychiatric hospital or whatever, and then loses all the money because he like is such a narcissist and hates her so much for trying to leave him that he wants to ruin her life.
Yeah.
And it is the most accurate but supernatural portrayal of someone trying to escape a narcissist relationship.
Yeah.
Like it's amazing. Elizabeth Moss is amazing. She is such a good fucking actor. There are parts of this movie that I couldn't fucking believe. That specific part I just talked about when the sister dies is like this crazy descent into madness.
Right.
And it turns out the reason why Adrian, the Invisible Man, hasn't killed Elizabeth Moss yet is because, and like this is fucked up, but he raped her when he was invisible when she was sleeping and impregnated her.
Oh my god.
And he wants the baby.
Oh my god.
And it turns out that he's in leagues with his brother, who is alive and is also her and his lawyer.
Oh my god.
It's crazy. Sam, this movie is so good.
Oh my god.
This movie is amazing.
It's awful.
Like no, the rape part's fucked up, but like. But
and just like the whole ties of it with like the brother being in on it, but also being their lawyer.
It's so good. Like so, I've probably one of my favorite movies of this year. Like I can't wait to go see it again if I end up seeing it again. Like seeing it in IMAX was wild because they do this really great thing where in the beginning scene it's like drop dead quiet because the first 10 minutes scene is her escaping his like coastal compound house and it's all really quiet. She makes like very little noise. He's been drugged with like diazepam to like keep him quiet. So she does this thing, and then right near the end, the house dog comes, and she's like, oh, I can't leave the dog. So she takes the tracker collar off, but when she does that, she bumps the car, and the alarm goes off, and it's like the first loud noise you hear all movie, and she runs out, and it's this whole crazy thing. But then later on in the movie, when she's in hiding with friends, she like hasn't left the house for like 2 weeks out of fear of him finding her. So they do this amazing thing where like he's like, okay, like all you have to do is go out to the mailbox, like just test yourself, go to the mailbox. And she takes a step outside and it just goes back to the sounds of the waves and the quiet from the first scene. And I thought that was brilliant. It was like amazing filmmaking. It was like, well, yeah, because like when you're traumatized, this is what it's like. You get brought back to those moments. And, oh god, it's so good.
Yeah.
And it's a crazy fucking movie. And like things end up working out. I mean, people die and it's fucked up.
And like Elizabeth Moss too. Like watching her act is such a treat. Like it's such a treat. I will never forget her silent scream in Us. That is I can't believe she didn't get some kind of award for that part alone, that tiny little part. Like she's top. And you know, like I haven't watched it in a long time, but everything that I've seen of her in Mad Men up until this point, I think I'm on like season 2 of Mad Men. I'm not very deep into it.
You didn't really find
like,
yourself too much into that.
No, it's a little weird. It's a little quiet too. Like I really, really hate quiet media. You know?
I don't think you like The Invisible Man very much.
no, it's not. No, I can appreciate silence. I'm talking about like poor audio quality.
I'm
talking about like when you can't hear anybody.
Like it's literally too quiet.
It's literally too quiet to hear. You know.
Right. I really want to see Elizabeth Moss in a movie where she's not traumatized or something, because like she's clearly proven.
You should check out Mad Men then, because I wouldn't say that she's traumatized, but her character goes through some shit,
right.
and it's the 60s, right? So like
so obviously it's a little rough.
Shit happens,
right?
But her character is one of the best written female characters in TV, and I can see why at the time people were raving about it when Mad Men was out.
Right. Before we continue conversations, spoilers for The Invisible Man is now over.
Yes.
Welcome back to everyone who clicked the time code because they don't want to be spoiled for The Invisible Man, which is great because you should definitely go see it. I'd highly recommend you go see it.
Mm-hmm. Hold on, let me adjust. Ooh.
Adjust the boobies, adjust the butthole.
Adjust my body. This is interesting, and like I think we can talk about this a little bit, but it's also not very like humorous or jokey, but
yeah, sure.
You know, I can't help but feel like, I mean, well, you have a whole group of friends that you specifically go out and see horror movies with, and you're fairly active. I am a person who does not enjoy horror movies, and I'm finding it increasingly difficult to go to the movies lately because there are a lot of horror movies out there. However,
I guess so.
I'm not salty because, you know, the quality of horror movies are good. You know, like slasher flicks have sort of like died out, or like pointless slasher flicks have sort of died out. You know, stuff like Prom Night.
Yeah.
You know, like you don't see movies like that anymore.
Horror movies nowadays have been a lot more allegorical as of late.
Yeah.
Which is how they originally were and how they always should have been.
Well, this is my thing, right? Like we weren't. I feel like fear is such a it's a feeling that we're all feeling right now, and I can't help but feel like the increase in horror movies lately is just a societal reaction to everything that's going on in our lives, like right now. Like, how do you feel about how we're handling the fear that we feel on so many different levels? Political fear, sociological fear, financial fear, you know, like I feel like we're all scared for a lot of different reasons right now, and I feel like it's trickling into our pop culture and affecting the sort of media that comes out these days, because horror and like thriller and very serious, I mean, like I hear comedians talk about this all the time on, like, I listen to a lot of comedy podcasts, and like a podcast of like comedians talking to other professional comedians, like Armchair Expert, like Conan and Friends, and like Mark Maron and stuff like that. He talks to a lot of comedians. They'll tell you, like, whatever happened to comedies, like just straight up comedies. Like, we're not seeing like Caddyshack, we're not seeing This Is a Jump, but we're not seeing like Wedding Crashers, we're not seeing Bridesmaids, we're not seeing
comedies are hard to make,
you know, like but those types of movies aren't being made. I can't help but feel like it's zeitgeist as to why movies aren't getting made, like movies like that aren't getting made right now, because we're not in a mood to laugh, we're scared.
I think that's a pretty good point. Yeah.
So we're making horror movies, especially like really well done horror movies, because we don't want to just see people get murdered for the sake of it. That's not the kind of scared that we're feeling.
No, it's got to be more existential.
We're afraid of outside forces, you know, things like us, things like the Invisible Man causing us to, you know, lose things or not be well in some sort of way. We're afraid of like huge loss. We're afraid of
a lot of things, like sickness, like whatever.
I mean, like, I can't think of a lot of horror movies. Sickness, you know, like movies about illnesses getting out and stuff like that, and contagions. Like how do you,
where are you going with this? Like, what's your...
Well, I just, you know, it's just I can't help but notice you know, as going to the movies gets harder and harder for me, and I feel like I have to suck it up when I go to the movies, like, more and more, because horror elements are just like more prevalent in movies these days. Do you feel that, or am I going crazy?
I don't think that there's more horror movies. I just think there's more high profile horror movies, because like
Parasite too.
Parasite's not a horror movie.
It's not a horror movie, but it's like it's got like scary elements to it.
I would say it's a thriller at the most. I would definitely not say it's a horror movie though.
Yeah.
The thing with horror movies is that for the longest time, horror movies were all dog shit. It was just like poorly made. The reason why studios make horror movies in the first place is because you can make them for super cheap and have a massive return because people love horror movies. People go to the movies sometimes to be scared.
Yeah.
And like I don't even think fear is something to shy away from. Like fear keeps you regular, man. It keeps your fucking mind in check sometimes. But I think you have people like Jordan Peele and like studios like Blumhouse, like who are really trying to take horror a bit more seriously and trying to make the filmmaking of horror more interesting. Because that was the best part about The Invisible Man. This is not a spoiler, but was like seeing, like I really wondered the whole time, like how the fuck did they do this invisible effect so well? Like did they literally just delete him from the scene? Is he wearing a green screen suit? And if so, if that's the case, then how the fuck is Elizabeth Moss doing such a good job of pretending that he's not there?
Well, Elizabeth Moss is a fantastic actor.
Well, I mean, yeah.
I attribute that wholly to her acting. I would.
Her acting carried the movie.
Yeah.
Because the writing was good and the direction was good and all that shit was fine and dandy.
Yeah.
But like her acting elevated it, in my opinion. It took it from being like what would have been a good B movie to like a really, really great, really great B movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just think that there's a lot more horror movies that get tons of marketing as opposed to them. Because before it was like, I don't know, there'd be like 5 different horror movies released a year and you might go see one, you know, but now there's like 2 or 3, but they're all like high profile, very well marketed. A lot of them have to do with old properties being updated, like that's a thing. Or they're wholly original, like Get Out. So it's like, it also doesn't help that like you and I are having trouble finding time to go see movies. And when I do slate out this time to see movies, it's with the horror group because like that group exists. It's like I go see horror movies with these people, you know. I do believe that there are being less comedies being made, but I also think that there's the problem with comedies when it comes to film is that you better damn sure make sure your movie's funny because it's really fucking easy. And how many comedies that get made that are just terrible?
There's so many there's so many funny people out there, you know. I don't know. Like I can name a bunch of comedians I would love to see in a comedy right now, like a proper comedy movie. I would love to see like John Mulaney, Maya Rudolph, Kristen Wiig, Kate McKinnon, Vanessa Bayer, Phoebe Robinson, Jessica Williams, Aparna Nancherla, Pete Davidson. Even I watched his stand-up special on Netflix, and it was like,
and you liked it, yeah,
it was good. Like,
yeah.
I really liked it. Yeah, like young, like hip. Oh God, Ben Schwartz is so funny. I've been like, ever since we saw Sonic, I've just been like catching up with his filmography. I haven't watched a bunch of it. I've only watched like one other movie that he's in, but it's really fucking good. And I've seen all of Parks and Rec, most of Parks and Rec, everything except for the last season. Like really, really, really funny. And it's like, these people would make a great comedy. Are you kidding me? Fucking Melissa McCarthy and stuff. Like, where's there? We have the talent. It's not like there's lack of talent. And these people would make a good comedy movie. I'm not talking about like gross out Vince Vaughn, like Let's Fuck Girls, or like Hall Passy. Like
I was rolling my eyes just now.
You know, I'm talking about like Bridesmaid tier level, good writing, excellent acting. Like you people who are at the top of their game right now in regards to their craft of like comedic timing and comedic acting, which is a skill in and of itself. Horror acting, like there are people who are good and there are people who are bad at it. Elizabeth Moss is an example of someone who's really, really good at horror acting.
Fantastic at it.
Someone like Kristen Wiig, Maya Rudolph is an example of someone who is excellent at comedic acting and timing. She has mastered the craft. I would love to see them in a comedy film, but they're just not being made. We're seeing horror films right now because everybody is scared.
I'd agree. You know? But the thing when it comes to comedies,
I can't emphasize enough. I don't think this is a bad thing. I just see this as a thing that I have noticed.
Well, yeah, and I think that's an astute observation.
Yeah,
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think horror movies are kind of becoming. I mean, I don't think they're going to be like the next Marvel or anything. I don't think it's going to be like the new wave of things. But horror movies, we're in a bit of a horror renaissance right now. We're like, lots of awesome horror movies are coming out.
Yeah.
The thing with comedies that I think is hard is that every decade or so, new generations of what people think are funny come out. And I think that we're really stumbling on trying to find what's funny now.
You know what? I think that's affecting it too.
How do you translate meme culture to a movie?
Yep.
How?
It doesn't translate well because it has to go through so many big wigs.
But that's what people think are funny right now. Right?
Yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah.
Gen Zers and like millennials as well, like we're no fucking better.
They're making their own comedy, and it's fast.
And it's poppy and fast.
Yeah.
The reason why there hasn't been a comedy made in years is because TikTok has
Vine.
10-second clips,
Yeah.
and no kid or millennial wants to sit down for 145 minutes under the promise that there'll be laughter to be had.
That's fair.
Because they don't believe it.
That's fair.
I don't believe it.
Well, I don't even know if I don't think it's a matter of like whether or not they believe it. I think they're too young to remember.
Yeah.
I think Gen Zers are too young. Gen Zers were children when like Bridesmaids came out. They were like little itty bitty kids.
Well, there's also just like think about like I don't know like the kind of comedies that get made in the past years. I think about like Daddy's Home, like Mark Wahlberg, Will Ferrell comedies.
Well, this is what I'm talking about, right? They're not good.
No.
The comedies that do come out
that style of comedy is
take
dead.
A chance on are bad.
Yeah.
It's lowbrow. It's low hanging fruit.
It was funny 15 years ago.
And it does have like memes and shit in it. I'm sure there's a scene in like one of these like Will Ferrell, like later era Will Ferrell, like post Blades of Glory. I know you hated Blades of Glory. People did really like Blades of Glory for what it's worth. I'm gonna say like post Blades of Glory Will Ferrell, where at some point he like laughs at like the like fuck yeah kid, you know, like the little like oh yeah manager said I could clock out early. He's like a fist clenched.
Yeah.
And his chin is all defiant sort of thing. Like I'm sure there's a scene where his character like looks at one of those or makes a reference to one of those or something of that nature shows up. Maybe they parody it in some way, talk about a cat video or something like that. I'm sure it shows up in one of those movies somewhere, and it's probably like super lame. Well, probably a very unfunny joke.
It's an interesting point you make because when I say translating, like the reason why I think there hasn't been a lot of comedies, to reiterate, is that I think that writers nowadays are struggling to find what people think are funny. The next generation of people things to laugh at
because it moves so fast,
because it's fast paced.
Maybe that's why we get a Netflix special every 2 weeks.
And when I say meme culture, I don't mean like putting memes in movies. I mean like figuring out why people laugh at memes and then writing that into a movie. But I don't mean like translating memes to movies. I mean like the style of like quippy super fast comedy. But how the fuck do you stretch that out for an hour and a half?
Like, why do we laugh so hard at when life gives you lemons?
Yeah, or like, yeah.
Like,
or even
why do we laugh so hard at that?
Well,
it's
that
like by the time
meme.
You figure it out, the meme is over.
Well, that's just it. Because comedy comes and goes so quick now. Faster than it's ever, in my opinion. Last week, we had like 3 memes that are all dead now. And it's ridiculous how fast it goes. So, personally, I would never want to write comedy in today's life. Because I think you can't. You need comedic elements latched on to a much larger genre, and that's how you make comedies in 2020, or at least that's what I would say. Because like I'm not gonna sit down like even like okay, here's an example. Like look at like something like Sausage Party, which had like this crazy all-star list of actors, and it's still a pretty mediocre fucking movie. It's getting to the point where if there was a movie about, I don't know, a bunch of comedians going to a cabin and then hilarity will ensue and the trailer ends with like Seth Rogen, Kristen Wiig, like Maya Rudolph, and like, you know, like, like, I don't give a fuck. Okay, so you put 50 comedians in this movie. Who cares? Is the movie going to be good? Like,
I would care.
Like, okay, like, obviously I care. Like, it's something to get excited about. But you realize, like, in my opinion, that's going for quantity over quality. Like, if you write, like, okay, here's a good example. What's that Seth Rogen movie? Him and I think Charlize Theron. She's like the president.
Oh yeah, it's literally him and Charlize Theron.
It's the Proposal. I think that's what it's called.
No, it's not The Proposal. That's Sandra Bullock and Ryan Reynolds.
Wait, here, let me Google it so we can do that. But where I'm going with that,
I know what you're talking about. When Charlize Theron is like she's like the president or she's a politician.
It's called The Long Shot.
And he like falls in love with her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this was like arguably I think it's hang on, let me see what it's like classified as, because it's a romantic comedy. So I guess this isn't the greatest example, but well, I guess it is a little bit. But like The Long Shot has a focus. It's 2 good actors, one who's really funny and one who's known for more dramatic roles, operating the story of romance and comedy. So it's like, yeah, you can write really awesome jokes for both these people and you'll laugh. But when you get a movie that's bloated as fuck and has like 40 comedy actors in it and they're like, oh, it's them in a house and who knows what'll happen. Like, it's just kind of lame.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like, okay, so I look at something like Bridesmaids, and I hold Bridesmaids up as the example because it's the last like comedy movie I can remember that did so well.
Yeah, and it's a fantastic movie.
Yeah, and it's funny. It's a comedy.
It's
like
really
hilarity
funny,
ensues in every single scene in some way, shape, or form.
And it doesn't shirk on the storytelling either.
Even if it's not like outwardly funny, it's something that somebody says or the way that somebody says it. So, like, all-star cast. You've got Kristen Wiig, Maya Rudolph at the height of their SNL fame. You've got Melissa McCarthy, who is, like, busting out there. You've got Rose Byrne, who is fantastic. I forget the name of... you've got Ellie Kemper. Oh, my God. Ellie Kemper from Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. I forget the name of the actress who plays the woman who has like 3 boys and she just like wants to get away because she's sick of her son's jizzing on everything. I forget that actress's name.
That's the blonde lady, right?
Yes,
yeah.
But she's great too. It's not like, oh my period. It's like there's a story.
That
right? Like,
what you just did sums up my feelings of like the last 15 years of comedy movies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's cheap. It's like gross out comedy, you know?
Like anything that Amy Schumer's
Bridesmaids
doing.
wasn't trying to like, well, listen. I mean, people loved Trainwreck. I haven't seen Trainwreck, but I've heard
it's good.
actually
Yeah.
really funny.
I'll give her credit where credit's due.
So there's that. Bridesmaids. So maybe I'm so far behind because I haven't seen Trainwreck yet. Trainwreck is newer than Bridesmaids, but like Bridesmaids is about like female friendship. It's about 2 friends, one whose life is going swimmingly, and the other one whose life is a fucking mess.
Oh, yeah.
And it's hard.
Just thought about John Hamm's character.
It's
Keep
hard
going.
to watch your friend do well but be supportive at the same time.
That's a very real thing.
Like life, it's about taking a real tough aspect of life and inserting humor into it.
Yeah,
that's what makes it real. That's what makes it feel not cheap. That's what makes you not have to lean on fart jokes the entire time.
They have one poop scene in that movie, and it's hysterical.
There's hilarity in your life going badly.
Yeah,
you know, like there is.
See.
So if you take something like that, The Big Sick is probably another really good example of that.
Never saw it.
I haven't seen it either.
I actually don't know what that movie is.
It's Kumail Nanjiani. I forget the name of the...
Yeah, never mind.
About his wife or partner who gets sick and he has to deal with her family and they're in an interracial relationship.
Yeah.
So like, you know, it takes something tense like a major sickness and not getting along with your partner's family, which are very real, very tough things that people have to deal with. But then inserting humor into
exposes the comedy in that, yeah.
And, you know, I think, you know, I totally agree with the horror landscape with, like, taking things that we are scared of in this current political climate that we're in right now and how it makes for good horror films.
Totally.
And also political climate right now because we also have things like the Me Too era and, like, believing women and stuff like that. And I feel like, you know, not believing women is a huge problem in The Invisible Man. I can only guess.
Oh, I mean, what I think is really interesting about that is, like, that's juxtaposed against, like, she's saying that her ex-dead boyfriend is stalking her while he's invisible. So you know what I mean? Like, yes, the theme of like believing her and not believing her, that's totally prevalent. But what's interesting is that the characters who like normally who trust this woman are like, yeah, but are you sure?
But that's a huge allegory, right? Because like
it works so well.
And it's also like he's done something quote unquote sweet, which is leave her a bunch of money. So we're like, you know, like her entire circle is like, he's taking care of you. Why are you besmirching everything that he stands for? And even if a partner is alive, I feel like people have a hard time believing women when that happens. So that's where the allegory steps in for me. Like back to my point.
That applies both to acrimony and the Invisible Man.
Hello.
Please keep going.
So I feel like if like we just need another like really good comedy that does that. Like comedy can do something similar. It can take something so dark, but you know, just twist it around. You know, we're like horror induces like a, you know, like us, there's like a secret network of like clones that scientists have just like left behind and they're rising up and trying to take over the world. And the Invisible Man is like, well, he's a freaking mad scientist and he's figured out how to make himself invisible and he's terrorizing his ex-girlfriend.
Right.
Where horror movies sort of like take that aspect to that, like comedy movies can like take, you know, like a sad part of life and just like make it funny.
Well, the line between sadness and
is so
comedy
thin. There is humor in tough stuff.
Yeah.
You know, when you're going through a hard time, funny stuff happens and you laugh.
Humor's what gets you through it. Yeah.
And if we talk about that, then I think that we like a really good comedy movie can happen.
I agree. I mean, there's something important to consider. Like everything you just said makes perfect sense, and I think that like if you're going to write a comedy,
you just want it.
It has to happen. It has to be like that.
We have the talent in Hollywood right now to make it. So fuck.
But the problem is,
make it.
I have to wonder then, like, and I don't know this for sure. This is purely a shot in the dark. But you know, movie studios operate on returns. Right now, they're like The Invisible Man and Us and Get Out and you know the fucking Candyman remake and Midsommar and Hereditary.
Yep.
all these movies are making crazy returns.
Yep.
Like really, really good returns for horror movies. Like, and horror movies already make a lot of money.
Yeah.
So like, I think they're being like, okay, well, let's roll with this because it's making us money.
Mm-hmm.
I think, you know, when movies like Daddy's Home 2 tanks, and like, I don't know if it did, but like maybe it did, the studios are probably like, well, we're not as confident in comedies anymore.
Yeah.
And that this is, again, a complete shot in the dark. Like, if I had to take a guess as to why good comedies aren't being made right now, is because I think it runs the risk of people not going to see them. Mm-hmm. Which is a shame, you know?
Yeah, because I think if and this kind of ties into what you were saying, which is like, how do we get Gen Z to come out and see comedies when they're laughing at like 1 minute TikToks?
Yeah,
and they're hilarious. Like, I'm not besmirching Gen Z at all. I actually think it's a beautiful thing that this whole generation.
Let's be very clear about that.
And I mean, like, you think about what Gen Z is facing right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're facing it too as millennials, but like Gen Z is like, they're so young.
Yeah.
They're so young, and they're thinking about like school shootings and climate change and illness and healthcare and all of these things that kids should not have to think about right now, and it's sad. And in response to that, in part because like there are also amazing child activists out there, but in response to that, you know, you have this like they've formulated this weird twisted sense of humor that really only they can understand or get down with, and they take these platforms like TikTok and they get so creative with them and find a way to make themselves laugh, and it's truly admirable.
Totally, absolutely.
But as someone who is interested in making movies and like theater and things that you have to like sit for a long time for, I'm like, how do I make what I want to see happen?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I mean, yeah.
And get people to come out and see it when you can effectively get the same amount. You can just consistently get that like dopamine shot to your head with like, you can watch a movie's worth of TikToks, but it's like constant dopamine straight to your head. It's like set up, like joke, punchline, set up, joke, punchline, over and over and over and over again, super fast. So why would I try and convince somebody to sit through, you know, like, set up, like, you know, like progression, conflict, climax, denouement. Like, why would I drag somebody through that when you can just you spend the same amount of time. You can just go on
TikTok and watch 10 videos and be like, that was funny. Time for
bed. From the comfort of your own home. You don't even have to go outside.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's made by your peers, people you recognize, people you identify with.
Yes.
And I think
anybody can pick it up and do it.
And anyone can pick it up and do it.
Whereas movies are harder to get into.
So I think that yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, like, this may be a crazy statement, but I think the reason why comedies aren't being made as they used to is because movie studios have to compete with TikTok. Mm-hmm. They have to compete with something that is free, accessible, and hilarious.
You know what? I don't blame them.
What do you do?
I don't fully blame them.
Yeah. So lesson number 2 is to hire Sam to write your comedies because she's working hard and she wants you to make good movies.
I mean, this whole thing is just like, you know, I'm complaining about like, oh, like we just need to take like something tragic and make it funny, and I'm like, why don't I do that?
Yeah, I mean, hey,
I can do that.
We have a writers group. Is what it's for.
Yeah.
And lesson number 3 is to go see The Invisible Man.
Okay.
Because it's a great movie.
Lesson number 1, wash your hands, be cool. Lesson number 2 was something about acrimony.
No, lesson number 2 was to hire you to write movies.
Yes.
Thanks for. I literally
I made a lesson number 2 like very early in the episode.
Did you?
I did. Yes, I called it. Yes. I actively listen when we record this podcast. I don't know about you.
Okay, Sam.
Cameron.
Okay, Sam.
But
lesson 2.5 is to hire my girlfriend. She's great.
Okay.
And lesson number 3 is go see The Invisible Man. And as per usual, folks, we'll be on YouTube every Tuesday at 3 p.m. You can find us on wherever you find podcasts.
Wherever you find them podcasts.
If you watch us on YouTube, you notice that we have other stuff on YouTube.
Check us out on YouTube, baby.
There's more than just our Let's Plays, which gets updated every Thursday and Friday. A new series every 3 weeks. We have our long plays, doing Nancy Drew right now. If you know at least one girl who is under the age of 30 in your life, you've probably heard of the Nancy Drew PC video games. So we're playing one. Go watch that. Because the Clue Crew has been awesome. We have our variety show, Whatever We Want, every Monday.
Well, with arms wide open. I decided to end this podcast as a yowler.
There you go.
2000s yowler band.
And we will see you guys next week. Stay beautiful.
Subscribe, review.